We're live.
We're live. Chuck dropped immediately. So there he is.
There he is.
Yeah, sorry. I have Chrome totally died on me. Oh, you're already live. Chrome crashed me, and then so I had to uninstall it and then reinstall it, and the privacy plugins that I had totally blocked everything. So it let me join, and then I'm like, I can't see him. I can't hear him. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I got to turn that off again for this site.
Your eyes and ears are being protected, Chuck. So
that's right. You never know when John's going to drop an F-bomb. Oh, holy cow. So yeah, I didn't let you know I wasn't going to make it last week. Or was it the week before last? I don't remember.
What? Oh, this Friday? I wasn't here either.
No, Chuck was the only one.
Before last.
Yeah, Chuck was the only one.
Because I was at NGConf and I was running the podcast booth and I just couldn't get away. Yeah, I built a podcast booth. I took it to a conference.
How did that go?
It went really, really well, actually. I had a lot of people connect over it. Couple of companies are looking at sponsoring some of the shows. Anyway, it was overall just a really, really positive thing. And then last week I was at Microsoft Build. So yeah, got a lot of bunch of stuff done there. We recorded 4 episodes. Would have been 5, but one of the guests no-showed. And it was funny because Richard Campbell, he couldn't believe that the guy missed. He's like, the guy must be dead. He's like, he never misses anything.
Wow.
And then what else did we do? I went and walked through the expo floor and probably connected with a dozen companies about sponsorships. And that went really, really, really well.
Cool.
And then I worked on the DevChat website a bunch more. Reached out to a few more people, and I finished the final edit on that stupid book so that I can just not think about it anymore.
There you go.
I was like, it just kept bugging me, and I'm like, I've got a few hours. I'm just going to get it done. So I did.
Nice. Cross it off.
Yeah. So I'll probably get it listed on Amazon or something this week or next week, and then I won't have to think about it anymore. But yeah, good stuff.
Cool. How much traveling to the conferences are you thinking you're going to do?
I don't know. I was trying to get through to like OzCon and Velocity and a bunch of others, and they're all kind of giving me the runaround.
Okay.
I also reached out to Developer Week, and they have conferences in New York, San Francisco, Austin, and a couple of other places. And they put on, like, Developer Week is just kind of generic. Hey, we talk about code. But then they also have like an AI conference and a data science conference and stuff like that. And it sounded like they wanted me to come to a bunch of theirs. So I've got to figure that out. But they, if they're going to have me come out to the conference in New York, then I've got to figure out how to ship this thing.
Yeah. That seems like it could be fun. You might want to have a spare.
Yeah. The booth itself really isn't that heavy, and it's not that hard to set up. It's funny because I was talking to Tom from Buzzsprout about their booth. He's like, yeah, I had to set it up by myself one time, and that was a royal pain. And so I was a little bit worried when I had to go set it up by myself at NGConf. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. So they must have done something different from what I did, because I was, getting the first 2 panels to connect to each other was a little bit of a hassle, but not that bad. Wow. And then after that, they all just kind of came together. So.
Well, it might be just millennials and their inability to do anything mechanical.
No, I think Tom is older than I am. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well.
But yeah. So I'm working that angle. I did get one of the banners that says podcasting booth on it, DevChat podcasting booth. Cool. And so I need to get some of the other banners put together that essentially are like here's how you subscribe to a podcast, and here's a list of our podcasts and things like that. And then I've got to kind of clean it up just a little bit so that it looks a little sharper. But
Nice.
I mean, that's about it.
Was .NET Rocks recording out of your booth then?
No, so .NET Rocks was at Microsoft Build.
Oh, okay.
And the way that they set that up is that Richard essentially works with Microsoft, I think he was working with an event company that was working with Microsoft. Go figure, they're like three levels of separation. But anyway, to line up our guests, and so he set everything up, and then he basically sat outside of the recording rooms for the 3 days at Build.
Gotcha.
Making sure that we were getting all the recordings done. And the event company also set up some audio guys to come in and set up all the recording equipment and stuff. So all in all, it went pretty smoothly, except for one guest just no showing. But anyway, it was so .NET Rocks wasn't there.
Gotcha. So is the booth then for
Carl wasn't there either. So
okay. Is the booth then for situations where they won't give you a room to record in? Is that
so? What I'm trying to do, the whole plan is just to, like, if we're there recording podcasts, then some of the speakers are somewhat aware of us, right?
Right.
But if I can get out there with a podcasting booth and I can set it up in a hallway or expo floor or something like that, then what I'm hoping I can do is I can inspire a few more people to go subscribe to some shows.
Yeah. Okay.
Because ultimately, I've been thinking a lot about this, and what I really want to do, because I kept coming up, our mission is to empower developers, liberate developers so that they can go do what they want. And honestly, what I really want to do is I want to make sure that there is a podcast out there for every development community.
Mm.
And then
I like that. Yeah.
And then I want to make sure that every developer is aware that there are resources out there for them to go and stay current with.
That's good.
No developer left behind.
That's oh, geez. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to name it after a failed government program.
Yeah, there you go. That would be in keeping with your overall persona check. Yeah, no, I really like that because it's really, it's very specific, and it's also like something that no one else can say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what it's about. So the booth is for me to get out there, honestly, because if I have the booth set up and I can bring in a bunch of other podcasters and we can all, take turns using the booth to do episodes, I could talk to people outside the booth all day long. And I could kind of cover both at the same time, because then it's like, okay, well, what are you doing? What kind of content would help you? What do you need? What do you see coming next that you feel like you need to be on top of? And then we can make shows for those.
Right.
And, I'd kind of like all the shows to be on DevChat, but the reality is that if I can't start it and I can help somebody else start it, I'm going to do that. Because, that's where I'm at. Because I know realistically anyway, I can't start a show for every community. But dang it, I'm sure going to do my best. So, if somebody else wants to come along and start a show on a community that's not on my radar yet, then, so be it. I am finding that it's easier to start shows that already have shows, or for communities that already have shows. Mainly because it's kind of the bigger ones that people are coming to me and saying, hey, we'd like more content, because .NET Rocks, for example, they've cut back their release schedule. I think they're releasing one, maybe 2 a week. And they were doing like 3 a week before.
Oh, wow.
Java had a podcast or 2 out there that I know have kind of died.
Yeah.
And so it's the bigger communities that have kind of come to me and said, hey, we want content from you.
Right.
I've had a few people come to me about Python.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about Python if you haven't. I didn't think you had anything.
I don't. It's definitely on my radar. Honestly, after I get off this call, I have a call with Sean Clabo from University of Washington, or Washington State University, something Washington. And I can't remember which one he is. But anyway, he he's been on the Angular podcast a couple of times, but he spends most of his time writing .NET.
Okay.
And he was like, he's like, have you thought about starting a .NET show? And I was like, yeah, it's crossed my mind, but I don't know all the people I'd want to reach out to. And he's like, yeah, we should talk. And so we're talking today about that.
Okay.
But yeah, my plan is for the rest of the afternoon is to follow up with the people from Build and then to reach out to all the people that I can find for the other shows and just get the ball rolling on all of those. And
That's
then,
cool.
I've got to step things up a little bit with like iFreaks. They released a handful of episodes and then I haven't heard from them for a while.
Yeah.
So, I'm following up with them. In fact, I should just text Andrew and just say, hey, what's going on? But, the same thing with the React Native podcast is still kind of hit or miss. They get 2 or 3 episodes in a month. So, just reach out and say, hey, look, who's willing to fill in when Natter's not around? And, hey, what shows do you want to do? What topics do you want to do? What guests do you want to get? And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, hey, do you guys have a half hour to just sit down and powwow about topics? And then we can just go and invite a whole bunch of people.
Nice.
But yeah, just get the ball rolling there. The open source show, they recorded their first one on Friday, and then people are out of town this week, so they're going to do the second show in a couple weeks. But that's not terrible because we're not actually releasing shows yet for them. So just puts our release schedule off a week, which is fine with me. But yeah, just chasing all these other ones down, and then it was funny because I talked to a couple of like Ionic, for example, at NGConf. They, they're like, oh yeah, we started a podcast, and so I had a conversation with them, and because they were like, yeah, well, we're having some production issues, and we're having some of these other issues, and I'm like, guys, I can solve all these problems, and so yeah, I may not be the face or the voice of the show, and it may not even show up on dev chat, but
Right.
And then
Chuck, I just threw a link in. I was doing a little research last week about Python because we were doing that promotion for Clever Programmer.
Yeah,
and,
I heard about that because I listened to the last episode.
Yeah, this was I was really surprised. This is not a brand new article that I sent, but check out. So it's a there's like a growth chart in there comparing the different programming languages. I think this is based on their popularity on Stack Overflow. I was pretty shocked. Like Python, basic has almost rocketed to #1, which isn't super, in hindsight isn't super surprising because like
shocked me at all.
Everything like on Amazon is completely dominated by Python. So if I were you, like I'd bump this one up in the priority. Like this is this is like a serious trend, and it could be. Remember the STAR principle. 10% being #1 in a market growing 10% or more.
Yeah.
This is the niche. This in programming right now, like Python is pretty much the star niche. So
yeah.
So I met what's his name? Mike Kennedy, I think. And he has 2 podcasts about Python. They were at Build.
Okay.
If
there's one that's already a clear leader, if you could bring them into the fold and get them advertising, like that would be the move.
I don't think he's interested necessarily in joining the show or joining the this is it. So talk Python. But and he also does one that's like Python Bytes. Anyway,
Okay.
So I don't know if I can pull him in per se, but with him it's just him and a guest, I think. And so I could start the panel version of this.
Oh, you know who else you could talk to would be Dan Bader.
Oh yeah.
So Dan worked with us. I don't know if he's got. So he runs RealPython.com. He bought the site. He and I worked on some projects together. He helped us launch the JavaScript course. while back.
Yeah.
So he is marketing savvy, and he bought this website and has been doing. I think it seems like he's doing pretty well with it. And I don't know if he's got a podcast, but I bet you he would be interested.
Yeah, I'd love an introduction.
So, yeah. All right. I'll send one.
And
I'll compose a.
yeah, I'll get that rolling. I talked to a couple people too that were in the data science and machine learning space, and they sounded interested. So I may be able to parlay either the Python show into getting into the AI space or vice versa.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and work that way. But yeah, I'm definitely going to hit this. And I have 5 or 6 people that were interested in the developer leadership show.
Oh, cool.
And what's funny is that I'm not 100% sure how to take this. Nobody's asked me for this show, but whenever I bring it up as one of the topics that I want to cover, people's eyes light up. It's like, oh yeah, being the team lead sucks, and I'm the team lead, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So if you made that show, I would love it, right?
Roy Osherov is the name that comes to mind in that area. At least he was doing a lot of stuff in like the leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote a book on it.
Yep. But yeah, that makes sense, Chuck. That's like.
But yeah, my goal. I'm still working to have, the 6 new shows. I'm 1 down and 5 to go, by the end of June. So I've really got to get the ball rolling on some of this stuff. And if I have the shows recording and I have a launch date, then by the end of June, then I'm going to count it as a victory. But I would really actually like to have them launched by then, which means I have to get them rolling now. So
nice.
But yeah, so just kicking butt there.
How's the running going? What's your running schedule looking like now?
So I usually have what my coach calls a quality session on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I have a long run on Saturday. And so the long run on this last Saturday, I had a tension headache all day, and I'm like, there was just no way. But I felt bad that I missed it. But yeah, so like this Tuesday, the quality. So I have a quality session Monday and Wednesday, but the one on Monday is sprints.
Mm-hmm.
So I do my regular run and then I do sprints, and then the other one is 8 half miles with a 2-minute rest in between. But she's up in my pace now.
Okay, yeah.
The pace has been like 14 or 15-minute miles, and this one's 30-minute miles.
Okay.
So
how far is the farthest distance she's had you run so far?
About 6 miles.
Okay, that's a good distance, yeah.
So and that was just on my long run.
Yeah.
It was run a mile, walk a few minutes, run a mile, walk a few minutes, run a mile, walk a few minutes. So I do that a bunch of times, and yeah, so that works out pretty well. And what's interesting too is that and I'm finding that the running is like a metaphor for life in some ways, because she's like, so how was that run? And I was like, well, there were a couple points where I wanted to give up, and she's like, oh, because it hurt. And I was like, no, it was all a mental game.
Yeah.
Like it was all a mental game. It's like, yeah, moving like this any longer really sucks.
Yeah.
Like I'm not in pain. It just sucks.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but I'm going to do it because I said I would. And just grinding through and just, having the mental fortitude to keep going.
Yeah. 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 That's what it's about. It's true.
So yeah, that's kind of the way that it's been so far. I definitely hurt some days afterward, like after I've rested or something, or sat there, I get a little stiff, but yeah, it's not bad. I'm not confident enough yet to run without a shirt on, so my nipples have gotten a little bit because they rub against your shirt when you run, and
Yeah, you've got to get some shirts. They're like the shirts that they give away when you sign up for a race or something. They're like the material they make. But if you look at like a running store and ask for shirts, that you can find shirts that will work for running. That will.
I'll just cut the nipples out.
Huh?
I'll just cut the nipples out.
Or you can or the other solution is that you can just. Do you have a cat?
No, not.
If you know someone with a cat, you can just let the cat lick your nipples. Just do that like twice a day. In about a week, you'll have nipples as hard as diamonds. There'll actually be holes in your shirt from where your nipples have rubbed through the shirt.
There we go. Yeah, I can just see that. I come downstairs after working one day. Honey, what happened to your shirt? I stretched.
Chuck's looking for those privacy settings to re-enable on his browser now.
I know. I'm just gonna rub my nipples all day, every day.
Get some sandpaper. Just like,
Got plenty of that. I've got a rotary sander. I'll just sand my nipples off.
Start with the hand sanding. There
we go.
Then you graduate to the rotary sander.
Wax on, wax off.
Oh,
But
man.
yeah, so
You have to look up the marathon pictures, or like if you search like marathon bleeding nipples.
oh
I'm
no,
sure.
really?
Oh yeah. Take a look at that search. That's a fun one.
Yeah, I'm sure because
Yeah, plenty of
I
pictures.
went 6 miles
Yeah.
and yeah, I got back and I'm like, I put on a regular shirt and I'm like, I need to put some tape over it or something because it hurts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found some nipple. They're like nipple things that help with the chafing that you put on when you run, but they're prohibitively expensive if you're running every day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a glide-on thing that you can put on there, but it's best to just like get a shirt that's good,
Yeah.
and then to use. I mean, the glide-on thing probably works too, but yeah, and I mean, if you train enough, it'll toughen up to some degree too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm figuring it's just it's just I'm running and my my shirt's rubbing on it.
Yeah.
And it's only really when I go away.
along, yeah.
So like the regular runs that she has me do most of the time, no big deal.
Yeah.
Unless they were already, irritated. But yeah, I'll figure something out. She said that some of the men that she's coached have put band-aids over their nipples when they run.
Yeah.
And that I was like, oh, I guess that would work. But
Yeah, I just started running again, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So
yeah.
I guess I'm going to start training for marathon again.
I'll tell you, it makes a big difference for me.
Yeah. Like having the training that you having the goal out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps me keep going, and then just running every day or almost every day, I just feel better. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to see. When I did like a 10-mile run yesterday, that was my longest one I've done in a while. So
Yeah.
we'll see what I don't know how long it'll take me to train to marathon. Probably another like good 10 weeks or so.
Yeah, I signed up for I think it's a 5K because my mom wanted to run it. And I was like, okay. And that one's in July, and it is in Provo. But it's the temple to temple run because now Provo has 2 temples in it, 2 LDS temples in it. And so you run from the Provo temple down to the city center temple, which is in downtown Provo. And I was like, oh, that it's all downhill. because the Provo Temple's up on the hill.
Oh, I see.
Heading
Okay,
up
yeah.
to the mountain, and the city center temple's in the middle of town. And so, yeah, I'm like, okay, I'll run it with you. That's fine. But yeah. And then starting to make some progress with Podwrench. But yeah, I went, so when I went to NGConf, one thing that kind of hit me, and I'm totally ripping this off from some other guys. I don't know if you guys have used StackBlitz at all. It's basically an in-browser editor, code editor, and it's becoming really, really popular, at least in the Angular community. And so those guys were there just promoting StackBlitz, and they had astronaut jumpsuits on and stuff, you know, that they got off of Amazon. And I realized that's the angle that I'm gonna angle all my marketing to for Podwrench. And you know, finding the sponsors and everything else is just basically it's like look, let's put a rocket ship under your show and make it take off. And so when I sponsor a podcast movement, I'm going to be in an astronaut costume, and I'm totally going to ham it up, and I'm going to have a good time with it. But yeah,
Nice.
I'm going to change the copy up too and make it all, you know, rocket focused and stuff like that. So
There you go. Sounds like you'll need to do some reworking on the exterior of the podcasting booth.
yeah, I haven't done
some
it.
boosters on one side, and
Yeah, I'm not taking the podcasting booth to Podcast Movement for two reasons. One is that Buzzsprout really helped me out getting it together, and they usually have theirs there. And so what I'm hoping I can do is sponsor this time, and then next year I'll talk to them and say, look, we should do like a battle of the booths, and like and do a whole bunch of cross marketing.
Yeah,
because they basically do like stats and hosting and stuff like that, and just be like, look, you know, we'll get Dan and Jared involved, who are the guys that organize the conference, and we'll have a battle of the booths, and we'll just tell everybody, look, you got to come record in my booth, and you know. And so, you know, we'll have like a scoreboard up for how many episodes we did and who did the longest and stuff like that, right? And just make it into a big deal, and then, you know, give away a crap ton of stuff.
That sounds like fun.
And make a big splash at Podcast Movement next year. I think that would be a ton of fun. But yeah, I didn't want to just, you know, come in and say, thanks for helping me build the booth. I'm going to come and compete with you with mine.
Yeah.
So,
that's cool. Well, that sounds like a win-win then, if you can do that.
Yeah, I think it would be a win-win. And yeah. But so that's kind of where I've gotten to. But yeah, I was walking around NGConf, and I was talking to people, and they're like, oh, that's your podcast booth? That's way cool. And then it was, you know, so you do the podcast? And I'm like, yeah. And then I was talking to somebody, and I said, I really feel like every community should have a show. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, that's what I'm about. That's really it. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it all came together. But yeah, that's what I've been working on. And so I'm also going to rework some of the messaging on DevChat to make that a clear thing, and just let people know, hey, I'm working on this. So if you're in a programming community that you feel like needs a show, come talk to me and we'll make it happen.
how's the promotion looking with Kazi?
Well, I haven't heard anything from their end yet. They kind of disappeared on us. That we like agreed to do it, and then they're like, "All right, well, we'll get you everything you need." And like we're launching on. So we met with them on, was it Friday night or something? Like it was like some weird time, and it was like 9:00 at night for me. And so meet with Kazi, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we'll get you everything we need." And then the thing was supposed to open on Monday, and I hadn't heard anything. And then finally, like Tuesday rolled around, and then I think John, maybe you got the link on Wednesday. It might have even been Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday morning you got the link, and they still hadn't contacted me. So I just sent out the emails that I'd written. And the clicks, I mean, we've got a ton of clicks. I don't know where they're, what the conversions are looking like on their end. So they're doing
He sent me some screenshots actually.
Oh, okay,
It was
great.
like it's insane. The conversions on their end was 46.8% from the landing page.
Cool. Okay.
So that's pretty damn good. Like,
so we got, let's see. I can pull up the click numbers, but it was like 3,600 or something.
oh wow. So that's
So
a good, like
if that
1,500 or so.
if those numbers are accurate, yeah, then it should be like close to 2,000 or somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 signups on their end.
Yeah.
So that's pretty.
Yeah, if they get 1,500 signups, I'm gonna guess that the conversion rate is gonna be at least 5% on those because those are explicit opt-ins.
Yeah, so the unique clicks is 3,725.
Okay. Yeah, so we could see somewhere around 75 sales at what's the price point? $500 or so.
Yeah, it's 497. Well, it's 397, and then they're going to go up to 497.
Okay, so let's say 397. Yeah, I think we could be seeing somewhere around $30,000 to $40,000, and we get 100% commission on it. So not too bad. And that's before they. Well, once they open cart, then we were planning on sending more emails, right, to actually sell directly. So, or that the other sequence, the same sequence, or something similar, right? So,
yeah, I'm going to resend what I sent last time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I did learn some interesting things. So one thing I tried was I tried two different things. So I did a split test on headline for the first email, and the headline was the subject line was how to become a freelance developer parentheses free class, and then the second the B version was how to become a paid Python developer free class. So I basically just swapped out freelancer or paid Python developer.
Yeah.
And I was curious to see if that would do anything. And the open rates were it's a very small change, so I wasn't expecting like a big difference. But the open rates were almost identical. The Python people actually were a lot more click happy. But when I pulled the segments and I analyzed both segments, and the freelancers were the overall lifetime value of the freelance openers was 15% higher. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so that's pretty significant. So, yeah, so focusing on the freelance angle versus the Python angle for our audience, anyway, is definitely, which is what I originally did. So that was the right call back then.
Yeah.
So the emails that are going to be going out focus on the freelance side of it, the business opportunity.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I thought that I actually thought initially looking at the numbers, the Python people, so the engagement numbers on the list, the Python people were a lot higher.
Okay.
So they opened and click more, but the freelancers, the people that were interested in freelancing had the higher actual like lifetime value. So that was pretty interesting. So yeah, so I think focusing on the freelance angle versus the learn Python angle makes the most sense.
Yeah, especially considering our audience is mixed, right? It's like we don't have an audience of just Python developers. So
yeah, the other thing that I did that was interesting was for the last email, I decided to try 3 different segments where I sent to the people that had opened and clicked, the people who had only opened, and the people who had neither opened nor clicked. Because a lot of people will do the like resend unopens, like they're like, okay, well, I don't want to bother the people that have already clicked.
Right.
So I'm only going to send it to the people who haven't clicked yet. Well, the the clickers were okay. So the open rate on the people who'd already clicked through, right? The open rate was 52.5%, and the click rate was 9.4%.
On sending them a second email after they had already clicked?
After they had already clicked. Yep.
Wow.
Basically saying like classes started, it's not too late to get in on it. So they clicked, they probably didn't convert the first time through. They just clicked through, decided not to sign up. And then so it was and then the people who'd opened already, they clicked through at a 2.7% rate. So like if you ignored those two, that was more than half of all the clicks that this last email generated. So if you excluded those groups because you didn't want to bug them,
Right.
that would have been dropping like half of the clicks.
That's interesting. So then that kind of indicates that what you want to do is not do a resend to unopens, but just have an additional email that you send to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Send more emails. But the one universal concept we've discovered in our years of this is just send more emails.
Yeah, or if you're gonna exclude people, you always want to. People get really wrapped up in chasing the people that aren't responding.
Yeah.
And if you're going to exclude anybody, you want to exclude the people that aren't responding, and not send them more.
But there's no point in like that's why I said there's no point excluding anyone, is because if you exclude the people that aren't responding, that's also silly, because what are you doing with them? Like if they're not responding, then it doesn't matter what you do. Like you might as well just send them stuff on the off chance that they respond. So yeah, so that was, I mean, and the difference in response too was pretty huge. Like the open rate on the people that hadn't opened the previous email was 9% versus 50%, 52%. So it's pretty dramatic. And actually, I think those were people that hadn't opened. They hadn't opened 2 emails at that point, so they had ignored the first 2 emails in the series. Okay. So yeah, just a resending to unopens is not bad if you're only going to send 1 email a week. I guess it's not a bad thing to do. But generally, like that's not where you want to go. You want to hit the most active people. Yeah, so we'll see. So I've asked them to get me some opt-in numbers, but I haven't seen anything at all from them yet. So okay, yeah. I mean Kazi was in New York. I think he was gone, but I don't know. I don't think his whole team was there. I don't know.
Communication not a strong point.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we just drove them 4,000 clicks, and I can't even get an update. Come on, I mean, seriously, we're probably driving almost as many clicks at this point as they are with their audience. So
yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like some of those strong points are like producing content and whatnot. Organization, maybe not as much.
I mean, I guess they are in the middle of their own launch, so it is kind of a lot of.
Oh, are they doing the launch?
Yeah, we're getting in on their live launch. So.
Oh, I gotcha.
But I mean, it's not that hard. And then we're also running a deal on the book. So we dropped we're doing a countdown deal, a Kindle countdown deal. So, and that seems to be those really work well. Checking to see if
is it a countdown or is it just a 99 cents? Because you said
countdown.
I thought you said get it for 99 cents.
I did. It is 99 cents.
Well, then it's not counting down. It's already at the lowest price.
Yeah, it counts up. There's a countdown timer on the page, and in 1 day, 2 hours, 48 minutes, and 5 seconds, it's going to go up to $1.99.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah, they call it a countdown deal, even though the price goes up. Yeah. So it jumps up in 4. There's a countdown timer to upping the price. Yeah, and they so it'll jump up in 4 increments. So I think it goes like $1.99 and then $3.50 or something, and then $4.99 and then back to $9.99. So
there's a lot of sales that came in already. So
we're back. We're jumped up to 6,600 ranking. So that's
I was going to say, does that move your ranking way up?
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah,
Number-
I was looking over the launch information on the self-publishing school for, getting your book on Amazon, and yeah, they're like, yeah, you want to build up, they're talking about, yeah, building up anticipation on your list, and then you launch it at 99 cents, and yeah, it's supposed to skyrocket you up the chart.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, that's the best way to get traction. So we'll probably crack easily crack the top 1,000, I would think, with this.
I think
nice.
so.
That's usually what we've done in the past. So
Yeah, that'll keep us pinned up there for a little while.
yep.
Right.
Then we'll have to decide what to bring the normal price back to, but
Yeah. Oh, look, Mastering Python is one of the top sponsored products related. Shocker. But yeah, the self-taught programmer has like been the #1 in software development for a long time. At
yeah.
least as far as Kindle, and that is a Python book. So
Who's it by?
Corey.
Corey Althoff.
I had like a call with him. I don't know what happened. I was supposed to like
Oh yeah,
I was gonna try and buy him out.
oh,
I think that might be good.
He was
Okay.
doing the he has the course.
Yeah.
I've made that offer to a few people on some stuff. Just, hey, do you want, can I take it over for it from you? People are surprisingly, like, some people, they're like, oh yeah, and they basically give it away, and then other people, they're like, no, I want to keep it forever.
Well, yeah, I mean I think what I've seen is that in the developer space, people have pretty inflated ideas of what something's worth too.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be at all surprised, John, if he were to quote like mid 6 figures for something like this. I wouldn't be at all surprised. He doesn't realize that he's got about a 2-year runtime on this, and then it's going to be nosediving. But
Well, that's what's funny is like
he's
one of
riding
them
a
is
wave.
JavaScript Air, which is a show that was run by Kent C. Dodds,
Mm.
who's a friend of mine. He lives here, and I was like, hey, can I take it over? I'm like, I'll buy it from you. I just straight out came out and said, I'll give you money for it. No, I'm going to keep it because I may want to start it up again. And they haven't released it like a year and a half. And I'm just like,
Oh gosh.
I'm like, dude, your shelf life goes like
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yep. It's a decaying asset, my friend.
Yeah.
You should start asking people what they want to do with it. Like, do they want to grow it? Do you want to why are you doing the podcast? Is a good question for you to ask.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing with people now is I look at them and I'm essentially like, so what do you want? I'm like, do you want to just, do you want the platform, right? Do you just want to be able to talk, just come on and talk and help people out? Or are you looking to make money at it? Or are you looking to, have an asset that you can grow? And then based on that, then I'm offering, okay, well, can I bring it into devchat.tv? We'll use the majority of the money to, run the production, and then you just show up and record, right? Or, oh, well, we're trying to, build this brand and it's connected to this other brand. And, so they're not interested in the devchat.tv option. So it's like, okay, well, then, we'll find you a sponsor and we'll use that to pay for the production, but you keep the brand, right?
Right.
And you keep, a percentage of the money after all the expenses are paid. Or I'll come to them and, anyway. So yeah, I've been kind of playing that game. Oh, you're happy with your production. You just need somebody to help you find the sponsorship. So let's do that. And I'll just take my 30% and we'll be happy with it. But yeah, if you can buy, the thing is like, if something has traction now, it's a good time for them to sell, and it's a good time for you to buy, because you're the one that's willing to do the work to push it forward. And it's in a place where it's actually worth, something for them to sell it.
Yeah, well, I figured that like with this particular thing with this book, Because I don't think he's got a really good lead magnet in there, Josh. I didn't see one. So I would take the book. I would throw a lead magnet in there like we have for the Complete Software Developer Career Guide, basically pitching the course and then have an actual email sequence and launch. Because, I think there's a lack of optimization on all that. And that would give us a whole Python, segment and then a lot of leads coming in from there. And then the number, like the top books in software development. So we could cross promote them. Like, I feel like we could, if we had a reasonable price on that, we could easily increase the value of the asset. So, but we'll see.
Yep. Yeah. I've also had, Ashley, I don't know what she is. She's not my assistant, but she's on my production team, and she's been going through iTunes and finding shows that have stopped producing within the last year.
Yeah.
And she sends me a list, and then she sends them through a sequence on HubSpot. And just, hey, why? We noticed you got the show. Why'd you quit? Can we help you? Yeah. But I haven't had too many bites on that yet.
John, did you do your launch for
Bulldog?
Bulldog?
The new.
Yeah.
My guy in Morocco's been doing it. We'll see how it's going. It's kind of a mess because there's people who have already seen the first sequence, and then there's people who haven't. So there's almost like there's two different email chains going out, because the people that have already seen it, it doesn't make sense to send them the same sequence again.
Right.
And then the ones that haven't seen it, the sequence is like, the ones that haven't seen it, we want to send them the first one basically, and send them, because that answers the questions on the quiz, and that makes the most sense, and it was successful. But the ones that have seen it, we want to basically say, oh, the price is going up, right? And have that kind of messaging. So it's kind of been a mess. Like I've pretty much stayed out of it, like, and let him do his thing with it. And some of the emails have typos and grammatical errors. English is not his first language, so there's some attention to detail problems. But we'll see what happens. So far, there's been like 5 conversions on the ones that haven't seen it yet, the new batch, and then we've got a bunch of people that have already seen it. So I don't know. I've got the 50 slots open. I'm still pretty hopeful that we'll fill the 50 slots.
When's that? Is it closing like this week or?
Yeah, it'll be, because the timing's slightly different between the two groups. So I think in 3 days that's when the end. So
okay. Cool. James Shremko, he actually does his membership is I think it's $2,000 or $3,000 a year. And his like he just basically sends like really short, like, hey, it's open emails every month. Like, he doesn't do a big elaborate song and dance. He's mostly like, he's doing a lot of the pre-sale work with his podcast episodes, and then basically once a month he just kind of shakes the trees. So it's the same pitch to everybody. So it's not like, I'm not sure it really matters all that much, like, if having a completely unique sequence from month to month.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that, like, the first sequence, the way that it's designed, and probably we should just move to that. But then, I mean, there'll still need to be some kind of follow-up, because the first one is basically like, most people are coming in through the Bulldog quiz, right? And then what I do is I have a 3-video series where I answer the questions on the quiz.
Okay.
Like, or I talk about the questions, right? And help them to increase the score. And then the 4th one is a sales pitch for the membership. So
okay. So it's like an evergreen lead
Yeah.
magnet funnel
And
type of thing.
it makes sense for people coming in, right? So, but
Yeah.
it's not something that you could repeat. You couldn't send them that
Yeah.
same thing
Yep.
over and over. So, yeah, so that's the difficulty with it. But that could be an
Yeah.
evergreen one, and that's the goal of it, is eventually make it evergreen. So when people join the list, they get that. But then you still need some other pitches like later on in future months.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're sending out email throughout the month, then it probably doesn't matter all, like it doesn't, you don't need like a 10 email sequence that's completely unique for
Yeah.
every month. Like that's not really going to make that much of a difference.
No, you can just like send out like contents, like this is what like this the sequence that's going out now is one that's got like a bunch of segments from the live streams, and you know this is what's happening in the membership area, what you're missing out on. So but we'll see. I'm trying not to get too involved with it. I'm letting him do it and
Yeah,
kind of
do
learn.
whatever he wants.
Yeah. So we'll see. But eventually we'll have to get it locked down to just a simple system process for getting this done, because then we don't have to keep on ongoing doing these launches. And it should just be an evergreen funnel anyway. So
Right.
Well, that's one thing that I'm figuring out with like this book and a few other things is I know that there are probably weak points in the book. There are weak points in some of the other things that I'm shooting for in Podwrench, but I'm not going to know what they are until I get people in. And so, yeah, you kind of have to go and, you know, knock into some stuff and get scraped up a bit and then go, oh yeah, that sucked. Let's do it this way next time.
yeah, exactly. What else is new?
I don't know. I mean, the travel kind of monopolized a whole bunch of space for me for the last couple of weeks. So there's not a whole lot to bring up other than that I'm going to go try and find more conferences to be at. I'm going to go, you know, stuff I've already talked about. I'm going to get Podwrench rolling. I'm going to go find more sponsors, more shows to get sponsored. And oh, one thing I did, I thought was interesting. I had a conversation with somebody else who tried to do the sponsorship sales thing a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah.
And it was way too early when he tried it, but he was trying to tell me that it was still way too early
For you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And what's interesting is that I don't know. I mean, it is and it's not, in the sense that you know, I found one show that they get 4,000 to 5,000 downloads every episode, and I'm pretty sure I can find them a sponsor. But then I had another show that I was talking to, and I thought they were a lot bigger than they were. And so they've got like 1,000, maybe 1,500 tops, you know, listeners. And so, you know, I'm trying to decide, because I'm probably only going to be able to find them, you know, maybe $1,000 worth in sponsors every month. And so I'm going to be working for a few $100s a month for them, right?
Right.
Yeah. That might be a case where you qualify, like they're just not qualified yet.
Well, I mean, the flip side is that I could also, you know, I do have some incentive then to help them grow, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's hard to grow podcasts. Am I right about that? Beyond like, it seems like my impression of where you are is that the podcast they seem to go or they don't go, and it's hard to like engineer.
Yeah, there are some things you can do to get them to grow, but
I think that those things are mainly like hustle, right? Like on the part of hosts, like willingness to go on other podcasts, probably being the number one thing.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. So,
so I wouldn't rely on that.
I know. But yeah, so I'm trying to figure that out. I think there are enough shows with enough listeners to make it worth doing.
Yeah.
And I also think that within the next few years, it's definitely going to take off. And so even if it's not as lucrative as I think it should be right now, I think within a few years it will be. And so by getting in now, I'll be setting myself up for.
So he thinks it's too early just for the market or for you in particular?
No, for the market in general.
Interesting.
But he was way too early before.
Was he a podcast networker or just a podcaster?
So he has, I think, 2 shows.
Okay.
And then he was talking to me a couple of years ago about doing it for other shows.
I think you already are doing it. That's the
I already
thing.
have the machine together.
Yeah.
For it.
So
Yeah,
really,
so.
it's just a matter of qualifying other shows properly.
Yeah.
And I would be cherry picking at this point so that you're,
that's fair.
not chasing the smaller shows, but just,
like his show, he's probably the next biggest show in Angular. And the thing is that I can, like, if it's just a matter of me lining things up with him and then turning around and lining things up with one of my current sponsors, it's worth it for a few $100s, to spend the effort to, to make an email or 3. But, if it goes much beyond that, I don't want to make him any promises. And
right.
That's where I run into, is like, okay, to give him the kind of service I want to give him, if it's not just automatic, then it's almost not worth it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. But yeah, I talked to him about doing it and then found out what his numbers were and realized, oh yeah, it's a little smaller than I thought, and so it's kind of small beans there. So
yeah,
and I want to help him and I want to keep his show running. I mean, it's in line with what I'm trying to do. But
interesting. You'll probably get a feel too as you work with the shows. Like, I bet you that there's a very consistent pattern where it's like the number 1 show. If you know what the number 1 show gets, you can kind of predict what the number 2 and the number 3 shows get.
That wouldn't shock me at all, honestly.
It's probably exactly the same. If you look at the Google click-through rate on the front page, I wouldn't be surprised if it was almost exactly. It would be interesting to compare. You don't have to tell us what the numbers are, but like if you looked at the percentages of number 1 versus number 2 on Google search results, I bet you it lines up almost exactly. Like the top one gets like 60% of the clicks and the next one gets like 15.
Yep. That's actually pretty close to the ratio of what he was getting compared to what.
This is why you need to be like basically number 1 star principle is like number 1 is everything, and number 2 is so far behind number 1 that it's almost impossible to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, you can either be
number 1 gives up ground.
Yeah,
at the same time that number 2 gains a bunch of ground.
Right.
They both have to happen at the same time.
Like Feedly, right, and Google Reader. Like that's a good example. But barring some major disruption like that, then it's pretty much impossible.
Yeah, but whenever you see number 2 overtake number 1, it's because number 2 was working their guts out and spending a whole crap ton of money.
And number 1 was
and
dropping the ball
over and over and over again.
Exactly. Yep.
And so they literally cede ground every time they move.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
John, did you see the email from Darren about Facebook?
Yeah, let's kill it. It's done.
All right. That's
There's
what
no
I'm thinking.
point.
It's
like
the
when
one that Manny keeps asking you about. So how's your Facebook going?
Yeah.
There's no sales, so it's not even.
Yeah, it's
if we were close, then but it doesn't even matter.
If there was some I keep coming back to this. Like, you got to try different avenues, and you got to see some traction.
Yeah.
And like there has to be some traction before things are optimized.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
you can't just tell yourself that this isn't optimized. Because when you experience the difference between like working and not working, like
Yeah.
it's like night and day. Like not working is nothing.
Right.
Working is like people are excited about it, and there's signs of life. It's like, you can plant seeds and then you wait 2 weeks, and if nothing's come up, then and you wait another week and nothing's come up, then nothing's going to come up.
Right. Exactly.
Like like you can wait. It's not wait 6 months. It's like, no, there's nothing happening here. So yeah, I'm kind of. I mean, they were wanting to do more video ads, and like it seems like we got. I think what happened is we got a bunch of traction early on. John did a live stream,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the live stream did really well with our fans.
Mhm.
And so it made it look like we had a bunch of people that got sucked into the live stream that were already on the email list and were already going
Right.
through all the promotions. So we got a bunch of early like excitement from those folks. And so we did actually, looks like we got some sales, but I couldn't even find them. I couldn't find any full price sales really to match up with the numbers that Facebook was giving us. So that's what led me to think it was just, them taking credit for stuff that was already kind of in the works.
Yeah. Yeah, there might have been people that were already on the email sequence or something like that. So
Yeah.
that got the discount. So yeah,
Right.
it needs to be doing a lot better than that and we can't rely on me doing live streams either. Doesn't
Right. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
kind of not the point. So
And and it's, those are just a sugar high anyway, because
yeah.
those will, like, even if we did decide to do live streams in 3 months or 6 months or something, like those would stop being effective because we would kind of saturate that
Yeah,
channel. So, all right, we'll pull the plug on that.
Yeah. Yeah, we
I have
spent
another
enough money
question
on
for you guys.
Go for it.
So I started talking about a month ago about Podwrench by name, and if I'm gonna go do the rocket themed thing, I keep thinking that I have to change the name so that it reflects like booster or rocket or something like that.
I wouldn't change it until you try out that idea.
I guess that's true. I could just redirect Podwrench to whatever I call it new.
I mean, the wrench could be working on a rocket or something, but I mean, you've already got the logo and everything, and like,
Yeah.
I would keep with the rocket. I mean, with the wrench theme.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a, if you find some kind of theme, then that really resonates, then I would say it would make sense to rebrand it. At this point, it doesn't really matter all that much.
A lot. Yeah, that's why I'm looking at doing it now instead of later.
Yeah, but
I
think
take
it's like
time away from getting traction and getting it up.
It's a pretty small contributor overall, I think, to your picture here.
Yeah.
Well, and I can. So the whole shtick is that, essentially I'm going to be saying, look, I'm a podcast engineer, and and we're gonna build a rocket under your podcast and launch it, make it take off. And a wrench is something that an engineer could use. So I mean, it's not a huge stretch.
We're gonna throw a wrench into the gears of your podcast.
No, we're not.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a dodgeball.
Yeah, I think that would be I don't know. Seems a little premature to me.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd ask just to get your feedback. I was on the fence, so
yeah. If you
saying no, probably not is enough for me.
Yeah.
I won't do the work.
If you clearly, if you're doing, if you try this out with some people and it clearly becomes a thing, if it goes viral or something, then that's different. But
right,
companies all the time do like themed, like themed promotions that are separate from the company's brand. So I don't think that's a
Yeah.
problem.
No, that makes sense.
All right, shall we wrap it up? Do our thoughts?
Sure. I mean, what my thought basically is, with the ideas around, making sure that every programming community has a show, has content being created for it, and making sure that every developer knows that there's content out there for them. That came about by just talking to a lot of people and kind of brainstorming with them and finding out what they needed and things like that. And honestly, the more that I spend time doing that kind of thing, the more I realize that you really don't get to that place until you have talked through the problem and the solutions a lot. And so my thought really is that if you think you have some idea or some something that you want to go out and do, it's tempting to keep it close to the vest until you have something to launch, because you don't want anybody to, throw a wrench in the works or anything like that. But the reality is that you have to be out there and talking to people. And if you're worried about people stealing your idea, just keep in mind that what really matters is doing the work. And nobody else is going to go do the work on your idea. They just won't.
Yeah.
And so go talk to people, go get a lot of clarity on a lot of ideas, because I've spent a lot of time spinning my wheels on the whole liberate software developers idea, and then realized that that really wasn't what I wanted to do. And so if you can get to the clarity quicker by talking to more people and finding out what they need and finding out what really clicks for you, the better off you're going to be, because then you can actually go work on the thing that matters.
Nice.
I would say, let's see, mine would be that it's going on Chuck's theme of it's in your head. I think that's important to remember as I did my, I'm definitely more out of shape. Like, I hadn't run in a long time, but I did my 10-mile run yesterday, and I didn't do it because of conditioning. I was able to do it because I know I can do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the difference of just knowing that you can do it in the past is what. So it points to the idea that it's a mental, right? It's a mental game. It's not that it's 100% mental, but there's a huge mental component of just believing that you can do a thing and just powering through that. That is a large part of success. Whereas before, when I was starting to run, and I was probably at the same level of maybe of endurance or training, because I'd taken 3 months off this time. I trying to just do a 3-mile run or 4-mile run was difficult. So 10 would have been out of the question. But just because I know, and I've run 26 miles in the past, and I've done 10 so many times, I knew I could make myself do it, and so I was able to. So I think a lot of stuff is like that, where if you know that it's possible, then it is. That's like the largest part of the battle.
Yep.
Cool. I think I'll go with in marketing, it's really easy to forget that when people respond to something, it's not as a homogeneous group. So like, you can have 2 emails that both get 20% open rate with completely different, like, who actually opens each one can be completely different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the who opens it is actually a lot more important than just the sheer number of opens.
Yeah.
So I found that the more it pays generally, when I'm doing campaigns, I try to be very clear about calling out the audience in every subject line, and then trying to select for the people that I really want, even if it's going to get me lower opens. And I might do a couple that are like 1 or 2 that are kind of like vague and curiosity provoking, but for the most part, you want to be like, this is for JavaScript developers. You want to be clear about that right up front. So, because who is reading is the biggest factor.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Alrighty.
I guess we'll see you on Friday.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
see you Friday.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.